This is Miss Lee, and welcome to Junior Webinar 8, Brag Sheets and Letter Recommendation. This session is all about helping someone else tell your story through a letter of recommendation. By the end of today, you'll have a completed brag sheet and the confidence to request strong, personal letters that support your college and scholarship goals. By the end of this session, you'll understand who requires letters of recommendation, why they matter, and how to choose the right recommenders. You'll also complete your brag sheet that reflects your strengths, goals, and growth. Today's agenda includes what letters of recommendations are and why they matter, how to complete a brag sheet that reflects your strengths and goals, how to choose the right recommender, and we'll close with your action steps and mentor group debrief question. Let's begin. Whether you're applying to college, a scholarship, a summer program, or even a job, people often ask, who can speak to your character and your work ethic? Just like an employer asks for a reference, colleges and programs ask for a letter of recommendation. It's a way for someone who knows you well to speak on your behalf. That could be a teacher, a mentor, a coach, someone who can help others understand what you bring to the table. In this section, we'll break down what a letter of recommendation is, why it matters, and how to figure out which schools or programs require them. Let's start with what is a letter of recommendation. A letter of recommendation is a written statement from a teacher, mentor, or coach that describes your strengths, character, and potential. Your story matters, and the way someone else tells it can open doors you didn't even know were there. Typically, letters of recs come from someone who knows you well, like a teacher, mentor, or coach, and it highlights your character, strengths, and potential. They also give insight into who you are beyond your resume. For colleges and scholarships, this means getting a fuller picture of who you are beyond your grades or test scores. Finally, a strong letter of rec reflects your growth from the perspective of someone who has seen it firsthand. And in competitive programs, that kind of personal insight really matters. So, what does a strong letter of recommendation sound like? Here are two examples, one from a teacher and one from a mentor. As you listen, notice what makes them powerful. In my AP English class, Anna stood out for her curiosity and care. She asked thoughtful questions, helped her classmates, and stayed after class just to keep learning. Her work ethic and empathy make her one of the most well-rounded students I've taught. When I started mentoring Jalen in ninth grade, he was quiet and unsure of his goals. Over time, I watched him grow into a confident leader, running workshops, mentoring younger students, and using his voice with purpose. He leads with compassion and integrity, and I know he'll do the same in college. In both examples, they tell a specific story, show growth, and highlight qualities like leadership, curiosity, and integrity, things that number can't always capture. These are the kinds of letters that can help you stand out when you apply to college, scholarships, or other programs. Now that you know what a letter of recommendation is, let's talk about why it actually matters. First, it adds something no transcript or test score can, a real human voice. Someone who knows you is vouching for you. Second, a great letter doesn't just list what you've done. It shows how you've grown, how you lead, and what you bring to the community. These are the intangible qualities that help you stand out from the crowd. Third, it helps colleges and programs look past numbers. They want to know who's going to thrive, contribute, and stick with it. These letters help answer that. And finally, letters of rec are especially important in competitive programs. This includes private colleges, national scholarships like Gates, and programs such as EOP. A powerful letter of rec can be the reason your application rises to the top when others have similar stats. Let's look at the difference between what shows up on your application and what a letter of recommendation can reveal. On your applications, colleges see things like your GPA, test scores, and the activities you've been a part of. But what they don't always see is the story behind those stats. In a moment, you'll see examples of both. First, the stat, and then how a letter of recommendation can add important context and depth. Watch how the same data point means something totally different when it's connected to your character, effort, or growth. First, colleges may see a 3.4 GPA, but what a letter of recommendation can reveal is that despite taking two buses each day to get to school, she has perfect attendance and consistently turns in thoughtful, reflective work. Or maybe you might have a 1280 SAT. He balances school with helping run his family's business on weekends and still leads the ethnic studies club. Or maybe you're in the robotics club. They taught themselves how to code using free tools and now mentors younger students in our after-school program. This is what great letters do. They help readers understand who you are beyond numbers and contextualize your accomplishments with your experiences and your background. So not every college asks for letters, but many of the most selective programs do. As we list out which institutions or programs require them, most private colleges, competitive scholarships, and merit-based or support programs like EOP consider them essential. Some schools list them as optional, but for selected programs, optional usually means highly recommended if you want to stand out. These include moderately selected private colleges, honor programs, and competitive majors like nursing or engineering. They're also commonly expected for merit scholarships and for students applying from out of state. On the other hand, some schools don't accept letters at all, so don't send one unless it's clearly requested. This includes UCs and CSUs, WAGAP schools, and the University of Washington. But always double check the requirements for each school or program you're applying to. Policies can change year to year, so always confirm application details on a college's website. So let's check how you can see which colleges require a letter of recommendation by using Overgrad. Step 1. Once you log into Overgrad, look up a college by either going to search and then college at the top right, or go to My Future, then Colleges to go to your college list if you've already started adding schools to your account. Then click the college you want to research. When you click into a college, it should take you to the college's overview page like this. Step 2, once you're on the college's Overgrad page, scroll down to the section called Considerations for Admissions. There you'll see a table. Look for the row that says Recommendations. It'll tell you if they're required, optional, or neither required nor recommended. Step 3, no matter what Overgrad says, always click into the college's website to double check the requirements. Overgrad updates their information every year, but sometimes schools change their policies, so you want to be sure. For example, we can see that for St. Mary's College of California, Overgrad says that a letter of rec is required. But if we click into the website and search the application requirements, it says that letters of rec are optional. So although Overgrad is a good starting place, you should always do your own research and double check a college's applications requirements by going to their website. Now let's go on to brag sheets. A strong letter of recommendation doesn't just list what you've done, it tells a story. Sound familiar? The best letters are personal, specific, and written by someone who's seen how you've grown. But even the best recommenders can't read your mind. And sometimes it's hard to recognize your own accomplishments. That's where your brag sheet comes in. It gives your recommender the insight and context they need to tell your story in a powerful, authentic way. So what is a brag sheet? Your brag sheet is your story starter. It's a document you share with your recommender that lays out your experiences, strengths, goals, and accomplishments. It helps them understand who you are, not just what you've done. Here are a few ways your brag sheet helps you. First, it helps your recommenders write personal, powerful letters, ones that reflect your values, goals, and growth. Second, it captures your accomplishments, activities, and goals together in one place, including things your recommender may not have seen or remembered. And finally, it gives you a head start. The reflection you do here will help you later when it's time to write college essays, fill out applications, or apply for scholarships. The more thought you put into it now, the more it will support you later. Here at Summit, we've built a brag sheet template for you. We built this brag sheet to help you reflect, advocate for yourself, and make it easier for someone else to write a letter that really sounds like you. Here are some of the key sections you'll fill out on the brag sheet. You'll talk about how you've grown as a student, your academic strengths or learning style, career goals and how you've explored them, a specific moment or project with your recommender, and your top 3 things you want to highlight in your letter. Take your time with this and be honest and be specific. What you write here will serve you later again in your applications, essays, and even interviews. Once you finish your brag sheet, it's time to think about who you'll share it with. In this section, we'll go over how to choose the right recommenders, when you might need more than one, and how to make a respectful, timely request. When you're thinking about who to ask for a letter of recommendation, here are a few guiding principles. First, choose someone who knows you well, not just someone who gave you a good grade, but someone who understands your effort, your growth, and your character. Ideally, they've seen your growth or effort, especially during moments when you push yourself through challenges, led in small or big ways, or supported others when it mattered most. You also want someone who can speak to your character and potential, how you lead, learn, or grow when no one's keeping score. This could be a teacher, mentor, coach, counselor, or supervisor, someone who's worked with you closely and meaningfully. And here's an important note. Most colleges and scholarships will ask whether you want to waive your right to view the letter. It's your choice, but it's common and recommended to waive this right because it signals to colleges that your letter was written freely and honestly. Not waiving it can sometimes raise a red flag. So it's especially important to choose someone you trust, someone who will represent you with honesty, care, and insight. Let's get into specifics. Who should you ask? For many applications, you'll need 2 letters, one from a teacher and one from a counselor, mentor, or program advisor. As you consider your options, here are a few tips. First, choose a teacher who taught you in a core or relevant subject, especially if it connects to your intended major or career path. For example, if you're applying to a STEM program, it's best to ask a STEM teacher who can speak to your skills and interests in that field. Now, at Summit, your mentor may also have been your teacher. That means they could potentially serve in either role. If your mentor is or was also your teacher, decide how they can best represent you. If your mentor taught you in a subject that's tied to your academic interests, they may be a good fit for your teacher recommendation. But if they know you better through check-ins, mentoring, or leadership outside the classroom, they might be a stronger fit for your counselor or mentor letter, someone who can speak to your growth over time and who you are as a whole person. If this applies to you, take a moment to reflect. How has your mentor best seen you? And is there another teacher who can complement that perspective? The goal is to have 2 letters that bring out different strengths, one academic and one focused on your personal growth. Together, they help colleges understand who you are, both in and beyond the classroom. Once you've thought about how your mentor fits into your application, whether as your teacher or counselor/mentor recommender, it helps to understand what each letter brings to your story. Your teacher recommendation gives colleges your academic lens, what you're like as a learner, how you show up in class, and how you've grown in a specific subject area. This is usually someone who taught you in a core or subject-aligned class. They can speak to your work ethic, your curiosity, and your academic growth. And if you're applying to a specific major, like STEM, this letter should come from a teacher in that field. On the other hand, your mentor or counselor letter offers a big picture lens. Someone who knows your character, your resilience, and the kind of person you are beyond grades. This person knows your overall high school journey. They can highlight your character, resilience, and leadership. And these letters are often required for private schools and scholarships. Together, these 2 letters should show your growth and potential, share personal stories and context, and help readers understand who you are beyond numbers. When done well, they give colleges and programs a fuller, more powerful picture of your strengths and your story. Once you've chosen your recommender, it's time to ask. Start early. Give them at least 1 month of notice before your earliest deadline. And when you ask, always include your brag sheet so they have the context to write strong, personal letters. Also, make your requests personal and respectful. This isn't just about checking a box, it's about inviting someone to speak on your behalf. Offer to talk more or answer any questions. Some teachers appreciate walking through your brag sheet with you. This is especially helpful for recommenders who want a fuller picture or need help connecting the dots as they write your letter. And if you're not sure how to start, there's a sample email in your brag sheet to guide you, and you can always ask your mentor for support. All right, to stay ahead, start now. First, complete your brag sheet. Then, identify 2 to 3 adults who can write you a strong letter of recommendation in the fall. Lastly, try to make your request before the end of junior year, ideally by late May or early June. And remember to always include your brag sheet when you reach out. It might feel early, but asking now gives your recommenders time to reflect, ask questions, and write your letter without the stress of fall deadlines. Think about this. If everyone in your mentor group asks your mentor for a letter, that could be 20 to 25 letters they're writing. Your mentor and teachers want to support you well, but they need the time to do it thoughtfully. And even if you're not sure you'll need a letter now, it's better to ask and not need it later than to realize too late that you do. Every year, a few students ask for a letter just a day or two before the deadline, and that puts everybody in a tough spot. Avoid that stress, give yourself the gift of being prepared, and send your request before the year ends. And before we wrap up, take a moment to reflect. What's one experience you're proud of that you want to include in your letter? Maybe it's your growth, your persistence, or the way you show up for others. Next, what's one value you hope they highlight? Something that feels true to who you are. And finally, what's something about you that's hard to see on paper but matters deeply to your story? Trust that your story is powerful, and this is your chance to help someone else tell it well. And remember, you're not asking someone to brag for you. You're asking them to show the world what's already true about you. That's all for now, folks. See you next time.